The Timeline is a Blue Wire podcast. Welcome to the Timeline of Phoenix Suns podcast. My name is Mike, here with Sam. Sam, we got basketball. How you doing?
We got basketball. I am doing well. Vegas Summer League is happening. Yep. The Suns have played one game. They are 0-1. That is sad and unfortunate. However, we've got a couple of future stars in the making, potentially. For anyone who didn't catch the first game, we did it on playback in front of a lovely audience last night. And really, Camara, the Suns' 52nd overall pick, second-round pick, stole the show in his debut. He was fantastic. I'll let you kick it off in terms of thoughts about Toumani.
I think when you're watching guys who were in the second round, especially late in the second round, you're just like kind of looking at them going, are they an NBA player or not? And he looked like one at first. One game is one game. But, for him, I think what's interesting about where the Suns are picking and what they're picking for, it's that, you're not looking for a guy to score 20 points, and he did, which is kind of cool. But, you're not necessarily looking for that. You're kind of looking to see, can he fit around other great players? And because for a lot of these guys that are picked late in the draft, they're finding their place in the NBA. Because they're picked early, right? You're Wemby, any of those guys, Scoot. Players are going to fit around you, and that's how you are because you're that level of talent. But you're picked late, you got to fit around other players. And Toumani, to his credit, gave a lot of shit defensively, right? He cared defensively, which matters, and that's going to matter. That's his reputation, so we expected that. Screened well, rolled to the basket well, has great hands, a couple really good catches on rolls, and then finished well at the rim. 1 of 4 from 3, so we still, the three-point shot is still a mystery, and could have a lot of impact as to whether or not he has a long NBA career. So we'll track that as Summer League goes along. 2 more games this week. But on the small stuff, I thought he kind of nailed it. He works really hard out there. It was exciting to watch him play.
Yeah, it was the offensive, and again, the defense, we knew he would care. That's, I think, the main thing that got him drafted. But it was the offensive versatility that stood out so much because, like you said, he cut, he rolled, he made a 3. Okay, he didn't shoot a great percent, but he's going to continue taking those spot-up looks. He's going to make some of them. He had a decent percentage in college. And
he'll get easier looks when he's playing with stars.
For sure.
He took a few hard ones.
He had a post hook at one point in the game. The only thing he wasn't comfortable with, quite clearly, was dribbling.
Yeah.
But that's okay because the Suns don't need him to do that. Again, if you're judging him by this, is he an NBA player or is he not an NBA player? If he's coming in essentially to fill this sort of Torrey Craig-esque role on the wing, he doesn't need to be a player who's comfortable self-creating at any point to be a decent NBA player. I thought just as a finisher, he looked really, really strong.
Athletic.
And the fact that here's something that Torrey Craig never did, or at least didn't do well, that he was doing all the time. The fact that he was just screening in the Suns offense constantly and looked really adept with great hands, catching on the roll and finishing. So, I mean, he's 23, right? Some of the other rookies in Summer League are obviously 19 and 20 years old, so you expect him to be a little bit more polished. But, yeah, he looks like a guy who maybe could win some minutes over from Vogel pretty early on in training camp if he continues playing like that. We have a whole week of more Summer League games still to come.
Game.
So we'll see. We'll see how he continues to play. But he made a really strong first impression and was clearly head and shoulders above everyone else on the Suns Summer League roster just in game 1.
Yeah, the Suns have a lot of good players. We're going to talk about one they signed at the end of this podcast, in fact. And so there's zero guarantee that Camara is going to get regular season minutes for this team. That's how it works. Look, he has a roster spot, though, meaning he's not going to be with a G League team all the time. He has the ability of being there on the bench, being available. This year, by the way, teams can make up to 15 players available for every game, which is a good case specifically for somebody like him. But he also does things that other guys the Suns have don't. In that he's pretty big, first of all, like a big, strong guy, and can cut and finish well. So if he continues to play really well in Summer League, and that's the main thing we're going to be watching here, right? If he continues to play really well, and then that translates to summer camp, that translates to practices, I think he has an easy path to earn minutes, even with a bunch of good players. In that, his skill set works really well around stars if it translates. So, we're going to have to keep track of it, though, because one game is one game, and he's going to have a lot of other opportunities to show what he's got. They had another guy that played, though. Jordan Goodwin, at least half the game, was injured in the beginning of the third quarter. Knee soreness, nothing serious, thank God. Getting tough injuries in Summer League is just so pointless because the games don't really matter. But Jordan Goodwin, it was nice to see him play. First of all, being willing to play. The Suns probably asked him to. I don't know if he asked to or if they asked him to, but it was nice to see a little bit from him because as much as you and I are NBA sickos, we didn't really go deep into the Washington depth charts to watch a ton of Jordan Goodwin last season. So to see him playing with Camara, I think the one thing I can say about him is that him and Camara stood out as the two guys that should be in the NBA if any of these guys are. And Jordan, I think we saw a little bit of the good and the bad. Offensively, he's probably going to struggle every once in a while. We saw that in the third quarter. Defensively, he cares too, and he has a good ball handling. He's capable of dribbling, and he looks like a guy who could potentially contribute on a team as well.
Well, similar to Camara, I think the defense stands out first as kind of the thing that you've never questioned about either guy. Offensively for Jordan, he had a really strong first half and then kind of got into a cold streak that he just couldn't shoot himself out of. I think he missed like 5 or 6 in a row, maybe finished 5 for 13. So the jumper is going to be a little bit iffy for him, and similar to Camara again, that's going to dictate to what extent he can really play a role for this team in the regular season. If the shot translates, particularly the three-point shot, with the way that he kind of has a good pace about him in his offensive rhythm, and with the way that he pressures guys as a point of attack defender, for sure he could earn some minutes too. But overall it was clear that those were the two best guys. There were some other guys who had okay games. No one is like really standing out to me so far as like, because the Suns have 3 two-way spots. There's no one else where I'm dying to give a guy a two-way contract at this point. They still might. But yeah, did anyone else really stand out to you in game one? Grant Sherfield was solid.
No, he's too small. It's not his fault. He's just too small. Pinder was the guy I was looking forward to seeing. Ended up not playing due to lower back soreness.
Tightness, yeah.
I mean, if he ends up playing for the rest of Summer League, I guess we have to keep that in mind as well. Maybe he's playing through an injury, but he seems to be the guy that people have pointed at and saying this guy could potentially earn a spot, at least on a two-way. And hopefully he ends up playing. I believe there's a game Monday and Wednesday, and I'm definitely going to watch both of those. So we'll see how they look.
And potentially more, but they'd probably need to win on both Monday and Wednesday to.
Yeah, that's the part where wins matter, right? Because there's a tournament at some point, so winning does matter. One thing I will say, or one thing for each of these guys that I'd like to see, I think with Tumani, I'd like to see more of him on the ball, even if that means he ends up guarding point guards. Defensively, I should say, more of him on the ball, because I just want to see what he's capable of when he's on the ball for extended stretches of time, because that's going to matter for him on the Suns as well. Clearly is a good defender when he ends up on the ball and has the length to get in the passing lanes off the ball, and also a good offensive rebounder, by the way. He's chasing those rebounds. But I just want to see what he's got when he's guarding the ball. The other thing with Jordan Goodwin, maybe getting him off the ball a little bit offensively and seeing how he does in catch and shoot scenarios, because as much as Jordan Goodwin can dribble and is probably the best option they have in Summer League to create, I don't think he'll be doing that a ton on the Suns compared to this, right? A lot of the shots he missed in the third quarter were these floaters where he's coming around screens and then he's caught in no man's land and he's shooting these difficult floaters. Well, the Suns are probably not going to let him shoot those. He doesn't need to. So it'd be nice to see him more in a role that he would be doing on the Suns. So coaching staff-wise, look, I know they're trying to win these games as well, but it's not as important as seeing what these guys are capable of doing. And I'd like to see a little bit more of those things. Anything else that you want to talk about when it comes to Summer League? Obviously, we'll have more opportunities this week as well.
Yeah, sure. I think they've had the right approach with it, though, in terms of balancing, trying to win, and also trying new stuff. Because last thing I'll just say, Camara spent like 2 minutes, and it was only that. But like 2 minutes as a small ball 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a big deal to me. That was something that obviously immediately stood out. If he can play 3, 4, 5 at the NBA level, then he's kind of golden.
They're trying to figure out if he can play with KD at
They
center,
matched him up. He was
right?
matched
That's
up
what they were doing.
He was matched up for a couple of possessions on Taco Fall.
Taco Fall.
And he was holding his own.
He's a strong guy. He clearly is strong.
Was not a matchup that Taco could punish.
Yeah.
I don't know how many matchups there are that he can punish, but he was not punishing Toumani Camara in that particular instance anyway.
So we recorded over a week ago our initial reaction to free agency. What we talked about at that point was Yuta, Keita Bates-Diop, Metu, and Eubanks, which are all players Suns signed on the first day of free agency. Since then, they signed Eric Gordon. We have yet to talk about Eric Gordon here on this main feed. We have, at the back half of this podcast, Shane Young on to talk more about Eric Gordon and a little bit more stuff about strategy when it comes to the Suns. But I just wanted to have this conversation now. Bol Bol rumors notwithstanding, which we can talk about.
Well, we got to get there too.
We can talk about. Look, he's not he's not going to be a main rotation player for the Suns.
We're going to get there.
So I want to say, are the Suns done? Are they essentially done right now? And I wanted to talk about how we feel about that. But before we get into what we think they could need, if they're not done, I just want to quickly say, because I don't think I have, and I don't think we have, they're going to be really fucking good. I just want to start there. Regardless of if they make any changes or not, if they go into the season with what they have right now, what the Suns have right now, this could be the best Suns team we've ever seen. That's how good they are right now. So I just want to start there.
Yeah. So much has to gel right for them in terms of getting the right level of health. If they want to, say, break another record. And
if they want to win a title, yeah, of course.
Well, if they want to win a title,
no,
but I'm not even talking about title. I'm talking about if they want to, you're saying the best team we've ever had if they want to win 66
there's different measures
or,
of that. That's a good
or
point.
Something.
Yeah. Right.
But the particular collection of talent that they can put together when they are at full health will rival the best Suns teams we've ever seen. That's just obvious to me at this point. They knocked this offseason out of the park. If they are done, which they may not be. But James Jones and company have absolutely knocked it out of the park. And evidenced by the fact the number of free agent signings that we have here, whether it's Eric Gordon, they reported this, or Watanabe talking to the Japanese press, saying that he chose the Suns over 10 other teams that apparently were trying to come after him. So many of these guys chose the Suns versus more, in some cases, more competitive offers, and in other cases, just other competitive offers from other contending teams. Maybe not monetarily more competitive, but this was a fantastic job. Well done. Yeah. I don't really have anything else to say other than that. Just that, we're excited to see it in action.
Yeah, so I wanted to start there because I do want to be a little bit nitpicky, because we just have to be a little bit nitpicky, because we're going to talk about this team as, can they win the title? Because if they are done, I do feel like I have some minor concerns that I'm worried about. Now, I want to say, though, with the Suns, so much of how we talk about this team is going to be how are these teams going to defend the Suns. They have offense. They don't have a point guard, really. I mean, but they have Devin Booker, they have Bradley Beal, they have Kevin Durant. I think they can find a way to get quite a few assists out of those three guys, assuming some of them are willing to play somewhat of a decoy role in a lot of these plays. They really have to gel as a team, as you said, because there's going to be sacrifice needed when you have three all-stars on a team. They can't all play like they used to. They have to change a little bit. But assuming they all do, right? They all want to play together. They all agreed to play together. That level of sacrifice, I think they can get the right level of assists out of that. So how are teams going to defend the Suns is going to be a huge part of the conversation. When you look at this team right now, I know we have thoughts. You and I have talked about it. What do you think is missing? What do you think maybe they might have to address in the regular season at some point if they end up making trades? Or what are you concerned about with their makeup?
So I guess we start with point of attack defense. We've talked about it at length. Right now, it still seems to me that Josh Okogie is maybe your best point of attack defender, but also your worst offensive option out of all of the guys we have on the wing. So that's an issue. Keita Bates-Diop potentially fills that hole for me. He really does. But I need to actually see it in action before I'm prepared to be comfortable with him as a fifth starter. Watanabe, for all of his offensive value, I don't think is really the answer to that question. Jordan Goodwin, definitely valuable as a point of attack defender, but like also just kind of a small guy. And so ideally, like you have just more of a clear answer to this general question about all of these pieces that we have on the wing. How do they all fit together and how do they make sense? Maybe a trade comes along at some point for just a better fifth starter for this team,
an obvious fifth starter, because they don't have
and
an
we have to we have to take it. We'll see.
Well, let's say to me the question boils down to who guards Steph Curry. Like let's say just as generally as that, who guards Steph Curry, right? Who guards Kawhi Leonard? Who guards Paul George? Who guards Damian Lillard on these teams? And it could just be it's going to have to be Beal, KD, or Booker, and it will for some of these teams that have multiple stars. But like when you have a really incredible fast Steph Curry, for example, are you going to want Devin Booker or Bradley Beal chasing him around? Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. Is there another guy that can do it? But what you brought up, and I want to just really illustrate this, how many guys did you just mention that could start for the Suns? Let's actually go through. How many guys could potentially start on the Suns right now as that fifth starter? They just signed Eric Gordon. Let's put him in there. We're going to have a little more conversation about that with Shane. So we'll start with Eric Gordon. Could happen. I don't know. Is his defense good enough? I don't know.
Gordon's in there. He deserves to be in the conversation. I see him as more of a six man, but he's earned consideration.
Could happen. It wouldn't surprise me if he ends up being the starter on day one, just for offense alone. Keita Bates-Diop, right? We're going to put him right in there. You and I have already put him as one of the main guys.
He's my front runner for now, but that could change so much. But he's my pre-training camp front runner.
Okogie?
Yeah, he has to be in there.
He has to be, right?
He's the best defender of the three we just mentioned. He's not as long as Keita Bates-Diop, but his actual defensive metrics, statistically, like in theory, Keita Bates-Diop you like more as just such a long athlete. But Okogie has objectively better results.
Yuta?
Jamal Murray destroying him notwithstanding. Yuta doesn't feel like a starter to me. I mean, but I guess he earns some consideration just like the rest of them. I would be surprised.
I'd be surprised too, but also I wouldn't rule it out. You know,
sure.
At this point,
I won't rule it out.
If his defense gets a little bit better than last year, his offense is so good.
Yeah.
And maybe the combination of, 6'4", 6'5", 6'8", 7 foot.
Yeah, he's long.
is enough.
He's tall. I won't rule out Yuta. That's fair.
Anyone else? I mean, I think we can rule out Damian Lee or Ish Wainwright, right? I don't think those guys are starting. We'll rule out
Damian Lee and Ish Wainwright. I think we'll rule out
Kamara, Goodwin or Kamara could, but I think we can rule them out, right?
They're not going to start. Campaign, I'd be shocked. Well,
that's possible.
Actually, Frank Vogel did mention Campaign's name.
We got to put him on there.
So he's in there. He's in there. I would be surprised, but that brings our total up to what? 5 guys.
Yes.
5 guys. Right?
Eric Gordon, Keita Bates-Diop, Josh Okogie, Yuta Watanabe, and Cameron Payne are the 5 guys that we listed.
Dare we throw Drew Eubanks in the? No, I'm fucking around.
We can put Drew Eubanks and Metu off that list as well. Are we forgetting any Suns players here? I don't think we are.
I don't think so.
That's basically the guys. I mean, Bol Bol.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Stop hating. We have to get there first.
So, how confident are you in any of those 5 guys guarding Steph Curry, for example?
Yeah, I mean, I still love Josh Okogie. I'm not. Here's the thing. I'm not comfortable in anyone guarding. Like, find me anyone who can guard Steph
I mean,
Curry.
Mikal Bridges, I would feel pretty good about it, right? That's. I know that's impossible, but I'm just pointing it out.
Mikal Bridges, you'll pay however many $1 million for Mikal Bridges to go and do that job. And Steph Curry, I'm not saying that defense is worthless. It obviously there is a certain assigned value to it, but Steph Curry's still going to drop 27, 5, and 8 in that series on 62% true shooting. Like some guys, there's no stopping. We learned that with Jokic. And so maybe the best strategy is just to have the best offense in the NBA.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Eric Gordon. Maybe we just talked ourselves into Eric Gordon. As
maybe it is Eric Gordon. And this is where we're at. I just wanted to have a chance to sit down and really illustrate it while saying that the Suns are going to be really good. Just to try to point out that there's still holes in what you would find, like what you would want to traditionally do against some of these teams. And look, the reality is if you looked at the numbers from last season too, the other thing the Suns are missing is rim protection. But, many people are believing that DeAndre Ayton could somehow revive what he did previously. And if he does, that would be really helpful defensively because there's going to be more holes on the perimeter than there was before. And if he's as bad as he was last season, there's going to be a lot of players scoring at the rim.
Well,
against the Suns.
That would be a shame, but I know a guy who's pretty good at rim protection.
And who's that?
Insert segue. Mr. Host, take it away.
There is nothing that we just talked about that is solved by Bol Bol.
No, can you please stop hating? Can you please stop hating?
Set
the table at least. For anyone who has not been following the rumors, what is happening between the Suns and Bol Bol?
Both Gambo and Shams, right? It was Shams.
Yes.
Said that the Suns could be interested in Bol Bol, who was recently cut from the Orlando Magic and is now a free agent. And I'm here. I'll just break down exactly how I feel about Bol Bol. It's really simple. I don't think he's very good overall, and I don't think he'll get a lot of minutes on the Suns. So I don't think it would necessarily matter. You probably would if you're going to actually take him into the regular season. You probably have to cut somebody that is most likely Ish Wainwright, who is also not great in general. So it's not going to be the worst case scenario here if you end up cutting Ish Wainwright for Bol Bol.
I agree.
So that is what it is, but I just don't think he's very good, and that's all. I don't think he solves any problems that the Suns have, and I'd rather, if we're going to sign somebody else for Ish, I'd rather try to find somebody that could potentially guard, specifically 1, 2, or 3.
Well, but you just talked about how rim protection was an issue.
Rim protection is an issue because DeAndre Ayton is going to get a lot of minutes. That's where it becomes an issue.
Unless Bol Bol plays him off the floor. No, I'm kidding. I'm not being serious. But
yeah,
Bol Bol, is it not possible? So Bol Bol, I'm not going to pretend that I have real expectations of Bol Bol. Like if we're talking about cutting Ish Wainwright for Bol Bol, this is our 14th, 15th guy. You're hoping that he doesn't play a lot. But I don't mind taking a swing on a bit of a developmental prospect too. Bol Bol logged 82% of his minutes last season in Orlando as a power forward, Mike.
Yeah, because they have like 8 bigs on that team.
Because they are trying to fit a square peg into a hole.
And lose games.
And I understand, but that does not mean that I think we should give up entirely on the prospect of Bol Bol, who is 7'2" with a 7'8" wingspan. If he is willing to just be a big man and play the center position. Because so much of his issues comes down to the fact that he can't shoot. He has a bad 3-point percentage every season out of his career. Yes, he sometimes has nice dribble moves for like a guy of his size, yeah. But he can't really break down NBA level athletes. No. He's not a playmaker. He can't
not
shoot.
A good defender. You're talking about rim protection. That's it. That's all he's got.
And he's a bad. Well, no, there's one more thing. But he's a bad perimeter defender too. Okay. All of those things are obviously going to lead to a disastrous outcome if you give a guy like that, with that skill set, 80% of his minutes at the power forward position. Let me just list you off because I know you like the B-Ball Index database. Perimeter defense statistics for Bol Bol last year ranked in the first percentile. Lower numbers are bad, folks, when talking about percentiles.
So he's the worst perimeter defender in the NBA. Yeah,
first percentile. In
one of the worst
perimeter defense.
4, we'll say, because there's about 4 players per percentile there.
16th percentile in deflections. 10th percentile.
With a 7'8" wingspan.
Shut up. Let
me 7'8" wingspan.
Let me keep going because we're gonna go fully around here. 10th percentile off-ball chaser defense. That's the Landry Shamet stat. 4th percentile.
Can you imagine?
In ball screen navigation.
We'll put him on Steph Curry.
He was a disastrous perimeter defender by every single metric that this website tracks, but he was playing power forward for the entire season. It was not fair. If you look at the rim protection stats, he registered in the 94th percentile in blocks, in the 97th percentile on his block rate when contesting a shot. He is clearly a center who just needs to bulk up like 10 pounds and was being played at the power forward position when he shouldn't have been there. like
So you're
DeAndre
saying the
Ayton
Suns
at
should
Arizona.
carry 4 centers into the season next year? Is that what you're saying?
Metu is like a tweener anyway. He's like a power forward / center. Look,
You
I'm not
read those
saying,
same stats for Metu, and you're going to come to the same conclusion.
I'm not saying that he's a future starter or whatever, but I think it's worth a shot. I think the worst case is he's bad and really funny, and I think the best case is he's good and really funny.
Yes.
And that to me,
I mean, good
the median,
is there's a I don't know. He's okay.
The median outcome there sounds better to me than Ish Wainwright's median outcome. So I'm for it. In conclusion,
the one thing I
rest
will
my
say
case.
is there are more players depth wise at Bol Bol's position than there are at Ish Wainwright's. So just from a positional standpoint, it makes more sense to have a wing with that spot, the 15th spot, than there is.
You said also, by the way, sorry, I just dropped something.
Mm-hmm.
You said rim protection is the only thing he can do. I just want to point out he shot 83% at the rim.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. If you're
But
that
he's
tall,
not
yes.
he's not consistently gonna get there.
Of course
I mean
not.
that's better than DeAndre Ayton shot at the rim for the record. He's
Yeah.
again, just stop playing the man at power forward and maybe you'll squeeze some dividends out of it. Now, I don't know, to the credit of all of the Bol Bol naysayers, I don't know what his attitude is with respect to, like, if he really believes that he is a point guard in a 7'2" body, then he might just be a lost cause. And I don't know. If that's going to be a point of conflict at any point in this season, then you just cut him because you're going to use a veteran minimum contract on him anyway.
If you're somebody out there Googling highlights of Bol Bol because you're excited about this signing, they're lying to you. Those highlights are lying to you. I promise they are fun. They are very fun. But don't try to slot him in as a rotational player. If you're thinking Bol Bol, 15th man, he'll come in, eat up some garbage time minutes, then I'm right there with you. That sounds fun. I'm cool with that. That sounds fun.
I'm in the second camp, to be clear.
Yeah. Just putting that out there.
But I believe in second and third chances.
It sure seems like he's going to be on the Suns, though, right? It's all pointing that way. Gambo's been right this whole time. So, although there is now a conflicting report, Tim McMahon said that the Suns are still trying to trade DeAndre Ayton, regardless of what they say. You know, so
that wouldn't shock me either. And you know who they would need if they do trade DeAndre Ayton?
Yeah,
is replacement big men.
You know what would be nice though is a starting big man. That would be nice.
If they
don't have any of those.
Ayton, they would need a starting level big man.
Yeah,
I agree.
That's why it's hard. The Suns are in a tough spot with Ayton right now if they want to trade him, which apparently they're still checking on. And we'll see what happens there. But they did actually make one trade that we should just touch on before we switch over to our interview with Shane. And that is a trade with the Grizzlies where they basically traded a pick swap that was already swapped. 2 pick swaps, I believe, right?
Yes.
That was already swapped for 2 second-round picks in the future. Basically, the Suns are saying, all right, we're going to get... They're saying, look, we're happy if these 2 picks that we get in the first round are 30th. We don't care. Whatever they are, we're still going to have picks in the first round. But we need some seconds to have some flexibility to make some trades now while the Suns are trying to compete for a championship. So they're sacrificing a little bit of flexibility in the future. Not much, in my opinion. Unless they really suck, but in that case, they're probably going to end up trading some star players for picks anyway, and they'll have some flexibility.
Let's be honest. If this entire project explodes and the Suns suck anytime between now and 2030, we as Suns fans are just going to have to live with like a few brutal years. It's going to be very sad.
But
as they have to,
if they end up having to trade KD,
their assets.
If they end up having to trade KD and trade Devin Booker, which, God, disaster if that ends up happening, they'll get picks out of that. They'll be fine. They won't get any picks for a Bradley Beal trade because he has a no trade clause. So we can just say they're not getting anything there. But yeah, everything else, I think it is what it is. Look, this is what happens. You got to go for it all. And I think what they made was a smart trade to have some flexibility now. If they want to make trades with, say, Cameron Payne's contract, Ish Wainwright's contract, now they can attach some second-round picks or something I mentioned online. They have a traded player exception from Dario Saric where they can just absorb up to about $5 million in salary and send out a second-round pick to get a player from another team if a team is trying to shed some salary, which is something that is happening now with the new CBA.
These tax teams or some of these other mediocre teams that are also trending towards the tax that need to shed salary could be very valuable. Before the Bol Bol news report came out, I really thought there was a good chance that they might do that this offseason. Now I'm not so sure, but at the very least, that traded player exception doesn't expire until February, so they'll have it all the way up to the deadline.
Yeah, so I think they want to use that exception because there's not a lot of ways the Suns can add a player that makes around $5 million. This is the only way at this point, essentially. So having those second-round picks, that flexibility to do that, they could do it now. Say the Celtics, that's the team everyone keeps bringing up because supposedly Peyton Pritchard has like a soft trade request there, which I don't know if that matters when you're a fringe rotational player. But Peyton Pritchard makes around $5 million. Say the Celtics go, okay, we need to shed salary. We're about to give Jaylen Brown $500 million as an extension.
What's his beef, by the way? What's Pritchard's beef? I didn't even hear about.
He didn't get minutes. They had a lot of guards. I mean, that's one of the reasons they ended up trading Marcus Smart.
I mean, he's not that good. You know,
I think he's fine. I think he can play minutes on most teams in the NBA. They just had a lot of depth at that position. So it was tough to find him minutes there. If the Suns end up trying to trade a second-round pick to the Celtics, who are appearing to hoard second-round picks in general for Peyton Pritchard, they could just slot him into that $5 million and cut somebody like Ish Wainwright. Not sure that helps the Suns very much unless they find a way to get off of Cameron Payne so they can actually make minutes for Peyton Pritchard. But if they do, if they end up trading Ayton and Payne together, this is just an example. Now they need a point guard. They can get somebody like Peyton Pritchard if they don't get a point guard back in that trade.
I'm just curious to see if you've been thinking about it. Let's say they don't trade Ayton Payne. Let's say the roster stays as it is. Are there any names that you've thought about around the league making under $5 million that you would actually be interested in that you think would be somewhat realistic? There are certain guys on rookie scale contracts, like on rebuilding teams, who are obviously just never going to be traded in these types of situations.
Right.
It has to be
you're
a
not getting
player.
Like Halliburton before his
you're not getting
something. Yeah,
there was someone who proposed to me on Twitter like Trey Murphy. The Pelicans are not trading Trey Murphy. He's one of their best prospects.
Yeah, or like Vanderbilt fits in there, but he doesn't make any.
Are there any role players that you like though?
I looked. I don't have them all in front of me, but
neither do I. It's not
did
like
look,
obvious names, but there are a couple.
Yeah, like Sadiq Bey. But he's probably extension eligible at this point, or he's about to be a free agent. But if he ends up being a player, I'm not sure if he signed something this offseason and I missed it, but I don't think he did. But if he ends up being a player like Atlanta's like, all right, this team's not good enough. We're not going to go in. Which, by the way, Atlanta has some insane contracts on their books.
They're insane, yeah.
They're just crazy, some of the contracts that they have. So if they end up being a team that wants to shed, obviously he would be amazing, but I think a team could probably get more than a second-round pick for him, or maybe 2.
3 second-round picks even. The Suns have 3 whole second-round picks.
Daniel House.
Yeah, Daniel House, he's there.
The 76ers basically tampered to get him. So I don't think that's somebody that's going to be available.
Precious Achua here on my list too.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I don't know what the hell the Raptors are doing with their future. So if it comes February and they think it's time to head in a new direction, maybe.
Yeah.
He played center for them all last year. I don't know if he's a center long term in the NBA, but it's nice that he has the flexibility to be able to do it. So yeah, I don't know. Just to give people an idea of like the type of player that we're talking about.
They're not great. Right.
They're not top 6, 7 rotation players in the playoffs, but maybe you get an 8 through 10 guy, and now you have second round picks to attach to trade for a guy like that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, just keeping track of that. But more than anything, what they did is they made, I think, a trade where they didn't give up too much. I know people looking at those picks and going, what are they going to do? But they didn't have those picks already. Those were already in a swap with Washington or the Nets. I
literally did not know that it was possible to do this, by the way.
Yeah.
It's kind of genius. I mean, I don't know
Teams
if this is against the CBA, but if you wanted to, can you trade a swap a third time? Can you do it?
That's a good question. I imagine there's a limit.
Can you do it 10? Can you do it 29 times? Who's going to be the first team that goes out there and offers their pick swap to every other team in the NBA and says, guarantee us that we will have the 30th pick.
We're cool with it. Yeah, just guarantee
give us 30 second round picks in compensation for that, and we're cool.
I imagine there's a limit. I'm sorry I don't have that information in front of me. I will say I think the Suns have one more pick they can do this with. If there is just a limit to do it once, I think they can do it with the 26 pick, if I'm not mistaken, which is going to Brooklyn. And I think they can also trade that in a swap one more time and just take the worst pick of those 3 teams, essentially. and with the Brooklyn getting the best and then the other team getting the next best. So it gets kind of complicated. But yeah, I thought it was kind of smart. Anything else you want to add to that?
No, I think we should get to probably just our interview with Shane.
Yep. If you're wondering why we haven't spent a lot of time talking about Eric Gordon, well, we're about to spend a lot of time talking about Eric Gordon. We're going to be joined by Shane Young after the break, who covered the Clippers last year, has a good understanding of who Eric Gordon is as a player. So stick around, listen to that, and we'll be back later this week with a Patreon episode. Thanks, everyone.
Listen, life's all about leveling up. Whether you're handling business on the field or kicking it in your zone, you like to celebrate with cigars that match the moment. That's why you should link up with Famous Cigars to bring you a wild deal. Right now, you can grab 8 premium cigars for just $8. You heard that right. 8 top-rated cigars at $1 a stick. Top quality brands like Oliva, Romeo y Julieta, and Davidoff. Handpicked just for you and worth over $80. Hit up famouscigars.com/cam and lock in this exclusive deal. While you're there, check out their insane selection of premium cigars, all shipped fresh and fast from their massive 20,000 square foot humidor. That's half a football field. Famous Cigars has been in the game since 1939 and still family owned. So celebrate every win with the folks at Famous. 8 cigars for $8. famouscigars.com/cam.
All right, joining us is Shane Young, a writer for Forbes Sports. Shane, how you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me. How's everyone doing on this July summer day?
It's hot. I'm in Phoenix. It's hot where I am, but I'm doing okay. How are you, Sam?
I'm good. I'm glad to not be suffering the heat in Vegas. I'll tell you that much, or Phoenix for that matter. So it's a little easier for us on the East Coast, right, Shane?
Oh yeah. I mean, I thought about going out to summer league, but I mean, honestly, the basketball is not good. It's terrible. And
oh wow, hot take right off the start.
Oh, I mean, obviously they're not even teams really.
Exactly. And I just got back from the finals last month, so I'm kind of done with all that right now.
Yeah, you did a lot of traveling in the playoffs. You were kind of at all the most interesting series, I feel like, at least in the Western Conference for the entire playoffs.
Yeah, in Denver for two series, that Suns Nuggets series, which the home games in Denver were blowouts, so it anticlimactic. But and then obviously the finals, which Lord, I wish it went longer, but hey, got to see Jokic dominate, so that's always good.
Yeah, he was good. Now, we wanted to have you on to talk about, you cover the Clippers. I mean, you cover the whole NBA, but you have done a lot of time with the Clippers. You talk to those players, you know them, you go to their games and things like that. And the Suns signed a former Clippers player, a player that was, I guess, briefly on the Clippers.
Briefly for the second stint. There was a longer stint, a very long time ago.
That's true. And Sam and I really haven't had a chance to record and talk about the Eric Gordon signing just yet, since we did our initial free agency reaction, and then he came a day or two later. A lot of people are pretty excited about this fit, including, I think, Sam and I, although we haven't shared that with everyone. I'm pretty excited about it. What's your impression, Shane, being that you probably spent a lot more time watching Eric Gordon than Sam and I this last season, of where he's at as an NBA player right now?
I would not blame you if you didn't watch the Houston Rockets play basketball for the first 4 months. I mean, even I wasn't watching them, and I'm supposed to. But I think when he got to the Clippers, when Eric Gordon got to LA via trade, it was a sigh of relief for both sides, because they needed, Kawhi and PG needed that spacer, that floor spacer that could really be a threat, because if Marcus Morris wasn't knocking down shots, Nick Batum struggled. They kind of needed that threat, especially if you put Russell Westbrook in the mix. So for him to play the way he did, he shot the leather off the ball for the most part with them on like five or so attempts per game when he got to the Clips. So I think that it's funny seeing the shooting splits from when he was in Houston, when he didn't shoot that well on wide open shots, to the Clippers. Oh, all of a sudden he is. I guess a change of scenery does matter. For something as simple as shooting the ball, you wouldn't think that, but I guess it did for him. I think this is a perfect marriage going to a team that, you know, I think we all saw the lack of depth with the Suns' rotation in the playoffs that's been drilled into the floor with conversations on any podcast or any article. Like, you know, they just lacked depth. They were too top heavy. I think EG is not going to give you another like dominant scorer because they don't need that. They needed someone to spread that court out, allow more driving lanes for Booker, Durant, and Beal now, and I guess, you know, be a massive upgrade to the Landry Shamet part of the equation. You know, I love Landry. I really hope I really hope he gets a situation where he can not be traded once every 12 months. Like I want him to find stability in his career. But man, whenever he's hitting 31% of his open shots, it's not going to cut it whenever you're left wide open because everyone's going to send help to KD and Book. And now a third scorer on the floor there for Frank Vogel. So a guy that's just going to be able to attract. He's a magnet. Like Eric Gordon is a magnet. People will not leave him, and if they do, it's, you know, what we saw in that first round with the Clippers and Suns series, which I know you guys can attest to. It's like if you do leave him, it's because you're selling out on other superstars. And that's not going to work against the Suns unit. So it's going to be fascinating to see how exactly Vogel places him on the floor and how many defenders dare to leave him open.
Yeah, I mean, what pops with him is just, it's kind of, you know, you talked about the comparison with Landry there. Like Landry, if you left him wide open, catch and shoot, he didn't have horrible percentages, but compared to what Gordon does on every spot on the floor, it's just kind of no contest. I have the numbers here. Gordon shot 37% on catch and shoot threes last year, which is already pretty good, not elite. But he also shot 38.6% on pull-up threes and 45% in the corner. And another stat that you shared, Shane, is just the fact that, I mean, he shoots the deepest threes, among the deepest threes of anyone in the NBA. Consistently a guy who's launching from 28, 29, 30 feet out. And you're kind of talking about that concept of daring defenses to leave him open. If he is that guy slotted on the wing, consistently one pass away when you have either Kevin Durant or Devin Booker or Bradley Beal, it could be any of the three of them driving the ball, he is going to force defenses into making just really, really difficult decisions. So massive upgrade over Landry. I agree with that for sure.
I think it's also, oh, sorry, Mike, but I think it's interesting how, you know, Ty Lue used him. I think, you know, personally, I think Ty Lue's the best coach in the West. I think he's the second best coach in the league behind Spo. But the way he was using him as a screener in particular, it's something we could get into. But I think that's where Frank Vogel can look at the tape from that Clippers-Sun series and really see what he was doing because, you know, Gordon and double drag, which, you know, the Booker and Durant ran a lot of individually with the Suns offense. Hopefully they can keep that as a staple. Hopefully Vogel doesn't, you know, ditch some of the sets that Monty was running because I think Monty ran some great stuff here and there for the most part. But I think with Gordon as the first screener in double drag, and then obviously the second screener is a big man, so it was Zubats. It was often Russ coming around a Gordon Zubats double drag, and when Gordon pops to the perimeter from, you know, not even 25 feet, we're talking like 27 feet. When he pops all the way out there. And then that defender has to move out of Russ's way. And then you have Zubats sprinting to the rim, which, you know, hopefully DeAndre Ayton can, you know, he's a good rim runner when he wants to be. Hopefully he continues that and is even better this year under Vogel. But when you have that rim threat, all of a sudden that ball handler, a la Russ or now Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, hopefully, you know, I don't think Booker and Beal have the same burst as Russ, you know, as much as we are Russ critics. Like I think Russ still has that burst, that first step to get past the defender. Hopefully now, like, Booker is going to have a lot more room to operate when he comes around if Gordon is used in those double drag actions. So hopefully Vogel looks at the film there and says, hey, we can use him as a screener as well as a shooter.
And what's so unique about the Suns, I mean, Booker or Beal could be the ball handler there, but KD could also be, you could invert it, right? Like KD could be the ball handler.
Yeah.
And then if the defense isn't following Gordon out on the pop, suddenly you're going to have maybe a 6'2" defender on KD. So like his ability to be a guard who is at the same time so stocky and capable of being involved in screening actions at all is pretty unique to what he brings on the court, for sure.
And I also think that there's an element of, well, that's what Landry Shamet used to do, and we're going back now with Landry Shamet and KD even to the Nets, where he was setting screens just individually for Kevin Durant, just to see, because often, and especially with the Suns, you have, and I do think we're going to see minutes with Eric Gordon, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant on the floor, right? All four of those guys plus a big. And you have all four of those guys. The worst defender is going to be on Eric Gordon, and the guy who's probably the most prone to help, because the other three guys that are ball handlers on the floor are probably going to kill any one-on-one matchup, especially when most teams don't have three great defenders that can just guard three guys like that in general. And just even those individual screens, I think, are going to be fascinating. And I think even for him, if they end up like trapping KD can get that pass because he's huge to Eric Gordon in the middle of the floor, and he still has some level of playmaking versatility that he could do things
for sure
with it outside of that if he needs to. The other thing I thought was interesting is KD, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, all three guys really good corner three-point shooters. All three guys never took corner threes in the past, but now they're playing with really good offensive players outside of themselves. Like Brad Beal, the best offensive player the majority of the time that he was in Washington. You know, Devin Booker, the same thing. Here in Phoenix, often didn't have time to stand in the corner because of the amount of other things they were needing to do. And I look at Eric Gordon's three-point shooting. 91% of his three-point attempts last season were above the break. And it's by design, right? Because, I mean, we're talking about the distance of his three-point shot. The average distance on his three-point shot, this is something that's tracked, 27.3 feet. It's not, he doesn't toe the line. He stands further behind the line. So when you have a shooter that's willing to shoot further behind the line and you park them in the corner, you're not fully utilizing the total spacing that they can provide.
That's
because
a great,
there's just, they're out of bounds, right? They can't stand further behind the corner. So I almost think, you know, the efficiency of guys like Book, Beal, and KD, because KD comes to the Suns, both Devin Booker and KD's corner three-point percentage or the overall amount of shots they took per game went up just when those two guys joined, and now you're throwing Beal in there. And now you're throwing Eric Gordon in there. And I just feel like the efficiency of these guys, they're just going to be getting these types of shots because of the addition of somebody like Eric Gordon instead of, like, say, I love Chris Paul, don't get me wrong.
Oh, I do too.
Not a willing catch and shoot, not a willing catch and shoot shooter, or Josh Okogie, who they're just going to leave wide open, right? You have to put him in the corner because that's his best opportunity. Now you can put these guys in different places where they're not really used to being, and maybe it's not going to be super fun at first for somebody like KD or Booker or Beal to stand in the corner a little longer than they're used to. But over time, if this is a role that they're willing to actually get into, I actually think all of these guys, their efficiency level can go up pretty dramatically. You seem pretty high overall on the offseason the Suns have had, Shane, so far. I'm guessing this is the kind of thing that you're picturing with them, right?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I'm not one of these people that thinks, oh my God, they're going to win 65 games and now they're just clearly the best team in the West and it's not going to be any competition. But I think they are significantly, meaningfully better than the roster that was put forward last year against Denver. And Denver maybe took a half step to a full step back. I mean, I don't know. We really won't get into Denver right now, but I think the Suns have definitely closed the gap. And something you just mentioned that I kind of have a little bone to pick with, I wouldn't say Suns Nation, but like I guess the overall criticism of the way Monty was coaching and playing with this unit. Like, you know, Durant in the corner. I feel like a lot of Suns fans were aggravated and just upset that he wasn't involved in the actions as much or to the degree that he should have been, which I understand. But you heard Devin Booker up on that podium talking about how, sure, we could use KD in more actions, but he's such a good shooter from those corner spots that, like, defenders are glued to him, and he is the reason. Durant's gravity is the reason that Booker was getting a good percentage of those looks to allow him to score. What did he score? 35 a game in the playoffs, 37, something like that. So I think people went overboard with the criticism of Monty and not knowing how to use KD. He knew how to use KD. It's just I think he had to try to figure out the balance between Booker leading the action versus Durant leading the action. I think Booker leading the action is even better than Durant. So honestly, I think Monty got too heavily criticized for that. But you're right. I think I am really high on the Suns in general. I love Keita Bates-Diop. Like what he's going to bring as just a versatile guy that can guard and just a body. He might not be like the best defender, but he's going to be able to just be a body out there. And I don't think they had enough size to really guard on the wings unless it was Torrey Craig. So it sucks seeing Torrey go if you're a Suns guy. But I think having a little bit more youth, a little bit more athleticism is definitely what they leaned into. And I'm all for surrounding Durant, who's 34? I think he turns 34 this September, or 35, one of the two. I can't remember.
Might even be 35. Yeah,
I think 35.
Yeah, it's like you surround him, Book, and Beal with athleticism and shooting. That's your best method, and that's your best route. And the reason they lost to Denver wasn't because like they didn't have a good enough roster. I think Denver was just a lot better, just a lot more cohesive. Having a full training camp with this team is going to pay off dividends compared to just bringing in Durant in February. So I think that also matters.
Yeah, the athleticism just was kind of a pattern that we saw across the board in terms of their signings. If you look at, like, Torrey Craig is already a relatively athletic guy, just in that he has a 7-foot wingspan. Keita Bates-Diop, if he ends up being the fifth starter, no guarantees right now that he would be, but I think he'll be in contention. He has a 7'3" wingspan. Like, he's massive. Absolutely massive. And then if you replace Chris Paul with Bradley Beal, that's another extra 4 inches of wingspan that you're getting in the backcourt. They have the potential to stack the court with far more length than we've ever seen before and have, pretty good shooting to boot on top of it. So, that's
except Eric Gordon, right? He's got those short arms.
Except Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon is the one guy who has T-Rex arms.
Actually.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple things I want to ask. So there's defense, but before we get there, I just want to quickly touch on one thing I've appreciated, Shane, about Eric Gordon throughout his career is that for a guy of his size and stature, he has always had a pretty good driving presence still, it seemed to me, and a guy who knows how to use his body.
Off the hill, dude.
Yeah. Knows how to use his body to get into the lane and like earn a surprising amount of free throws for a guy who is so short. But of course, when I think about that, like I am kind of maybe still thinking about the glory days of Eric Gordon a little bit in the deep Houston playoff runs and kind of that version of him. Was he still that player with the Clippers, or is his body really taking the brunt of some damage now? And maybe we should just expect to only see him as a more of a shooter in his current role.
See, I don't know. I don't think his body is declining or he's been banged up or anything like that. Like he's durable. I mean, he's always. I don't think he missed any games or maybe a couple here and there at the end of the season. I can't remember, but I think he's pretty much durable. But it's the speed. It's the lateral movement that is not the same from 2017-18 whenever he was on the verge of winning the title. And if CP doesn't go down, maybe they do. It's not the same. And, Clippers Nation, all their fans, I'm kind of in the minority. I think all the Clippers media was like, I can't believe they didn't guarantee his contract because although he's a net negative defender at this point because he's slower than normal, the shooting still matters around Kawhi and PG when they're there. But everyone wants to point to, it would have cost them $110 million in total salary and luxury tax penalties, which I understand why they did it, but
I understand.
He's got it.
I know
he's got that money.
That's my point, Mike. It's like you're worth $84 billion.
Yeah, he could buy the NBA.
I don't get it. Like you're gonna so instead of for the Clippers, instead of bringing him back and being a contender, now you're kind of a worse version of what you were. They're like we said, they're not done yet. The Clippers aren't done yet. So we'll see what happens. But, Gordon, his defense definitely slipped. But I think when you play for Frank Vogel, it's different than playing for Ty Lue. Like Ty Lue, although he likes defense, he's more of an offensive mind. I want to see if Gordon is in even better shape coming into camp. I just got to see it first. I mean, maybe in the first week or two of the season, he looks just as bad defensively as he did. But, I'm just talking in terms of foot speed. Because if you talk to Durant or Booker, you remember how they said like Gordon and his physicality. The physicality matters on defense. So does the speed. So does everything else. But the way he was getting up into Booker, getting up into Durant, pushing them, and he can physically push them off their spots. You mean to tell me he can't do that to another duo around the league in the playoff series? Like, of course, if you play Denver or something like that, he might be kind of screwed there because I'm not really sure what Gordon can do in that matchup. But put him on your like-size wing. Although he's shorter than they are, he really bothers them, and I think that would be if the Clippers played the Suns again, like I think he would really bother PG and Kawhi, for instance.
Right.
Just to demonstrate that point, Eric Gordon is listed at 215 pounds. That is 5 pounds lighter than likely Phoenix Suns signee Bol Bol. Just to get, and he is 11 inches shorter than Bol Bol.
Yeah.
So just to give you an idea of what we're working with. Both guys are kind of at the extreme opposite ends of their spectrum in terms of body type, but kind of funny.
I think, defensively, I think I agree with you. I haven't watched all the film, obviously. I didn't watch every game he played in LA. We got a lot of time to watch him in the playoffs, and I thought he was pretty good in the playoffs. I agree with you. And it is interesting that you bring up, him coming into camp in shape because he did start the season with Houston, right? He's starting the season on a contender now, and if he brings the right level of defensive intensity, he could start on the Suns. Like they could just start him.
I think he should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it really, it's not about whether or not his offense will be good enough because I think the Suns are pretty confident in that. But he if he plays on the Suns, like you said against the Clippers, he might be guarding Paul George, or he might be guarding Steph Curry nights, or Damian Lillard, or the Suns don't have a lot of guys where that makes sense. Something we're going to talk about at the beginning of this episode too. But I also think Sam, you were talking about his drives, and I don't know that he's the guy that he used to be in that he could just sort of bounce off guys and get some insane finishes. But the numbers are still pretty good. 64% at the rim. Is where he was at last season, but he has a really good contact rate. So when he gets hit at the rim, he still scores pretty well now consistently. But the other part, I was watching some film of him on the Clippers, trying to focus just on last season to try to really not get my brain in that mode where I'm like, we got that old Eric Gordon back. I know we don't.
You're not watching Pelicans Eric Gordon?
Yeah, no, I'm not. Back when he tried to sign on the Suns, but. One of the advantages of his standing so far out, obviously, is the spacing it provides, but also there is a level of panic when he catches the ball, and he's pretty good at taking advantage of the defender's momentum and attacking a closeout pretty hard. And what I find interesting about him, and I would love to hear if this is true from what you saw, Shane, is that when he's driving, he still has some of those point guard instincts in his brain as well. He's not just going to attack the rim and complete tunnel vision and try to get fouled or anything like maybe Josh Okogie does. He still has the ability of hitting some guy in the dunker spot if the help comes out to him with a bounce pass or a lob, or even occasionally finding shooters if they're wide open. He's not completely useless on those closeouts. He can do a little playmaking as well, right?
Yeah, and I think that is the most underrated component of his game is in Houston, I guess, by the way, the reason he stands at 28 feet is because D'Antoni and Daryl Morey and the entire staff was like, hey man, this is how we're going to optimize James Harden. And if you want to say Devin Booker is the 2018 version of James Harden now, I'm not going to disagree with you. He's not going to win a MVP probably, but that's kind of what you're looking at from that on-court perspective. But I think you bring up a good point about the playmaking. Whenever he is able to drive, if he's able to get that first step around his defender when they're closing out aggressively, which they will on certain occasions, all it takes, and we're not talking about getting to the rim John Morant style playmaking. We're not talking about the insane cross-court weak side corner dimes that CP would do. He's not going to provide that. So I guess temporary expectations there, but I think all it matters for him is to force that first rotation, to force that guy to step over just a little bit, and or really rotate over completely to him. It's not about fully getting to the rim. I think as long as he breaks the paint and gets in, within 15 to 10 feet, then you make yourself a threat, and then everything else opens up. Then they can get a driving kick, and then it's either Durant or Booker or Beal attacking off another closeout off the second side, which will trigger another action. Then maybe you have DeAndre Ayton open at a lob attempt after that second action. So I think it's interesting how they're going to be able to play it with Gordon as a secondary playmaker. He's not going to be the lead ball handler, I don't think. Even when he's designated as the point guard because of height, it's still going to be Booker, right? I think so.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting. I love that. I guess I'm selfish. I love that they didn't bring in a typical point guard and that Booker can kind of absorb those responsibilities with more floor spacers. I think Booker is the best option for this responsibility on the team. And if they're worried about him wearing down or something like that, then you can make adjustments and get a point guard later on, like the Clippers did with Russ, I guess you could say. Because PG decided he didn't want to handle those responsibilities anymore. But I think Booker wants the ball in his hands more. So Gordon's going to be a perfect secondary option to attack closeouts and hit your Bates Diop or name your or Utah Watanabe. That's going to be a guy. I could really see Gordon having the most assists on the team to like Utah if they play together.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason, like just breaking down what you're talking about there, that those five guys on the court at the same time, if Gordon does actually start, there's no reason they couldn't be the best offense in the NBA, right?
Mm-hmm. Them and Denver. Denver will always be there.
Denver will certainly be. If Phoenix has the best offense in the NBA with those five guys, it will be edging out Denver by like a fraction of a point. Like it will not be some sort of dominance. It'll be like Phoenix 123 offensive rating, something we've never seen before.
Is that the era we're living in now?
Denver 122, something like that. But that doesn't mean that I'm still not quite there. Their offense could be so good, but I'm still just not quite there. I haven't watched as much Eric Gordon as you, though. You really believe he could start? You really think the defense could hold up to that extent? Because in my mind, this entire week, I've been thinking sixth man. Give him 20, 25 minutes, but...
Yeah, I mean, I've not been around. So the last time I was around Frank Vogel, like for a while, was like the Indy years, because that's when I started covering That's when I started covering the NBA, was around the Paul George Pacers. So like, I don't know really what his philosophy is going to be. Like, I don't know if he's going to accept having Gordon in there as a neutral or negative defender. Who knows? But maybe he's changed his ways and maybe he leans more offense. I don't know, but. That's a good point. Like if he is slipping on defense, then yeah, six man, just be a scoring boost off the bench and kind of stagger your stars with him. But man, I don't know if y'all can tell on Twitter or not, but I'm fully like offensive minded. I'm more so, hey, if you can score 130, great. Just outscore the other team. Just make
to be fair, the only way to beat the Nuggets. I think.
Make sure the other team doesn't.
I'm not sure how you beat them with
offense. Offense is where all of the innovation, is it fair to say, or 90% of the innovation in the NBA happens, and then defense evolves as a reaction to that.
Exactly. And unless you're Thibodeau, then all you do is lay up at night thinking about defense.
Ice. Yeah.
So, for me, I would start Eric Gordon and just say, hey, this unit's going to be the best five-man unit in basketball, bar none. Like, that's what I would do. I would lean into that. And I'm not sure if Monty would do that. I really don't know how these coaches are wired, so we'll see.
No, I don't think Monty would. Frank might. All right, before we let you go, I got to ask, how do you feel about James Harden and the Clippers? How you feeling about that right now?
Man, as stagnant as the Clippers are right now, because they didn't get better, they didn't really get worse. They're kind of just stuck in the middle of the West, as evidenced by the 5 seed last year, losing the first round. Like, I kind of don't want them. If I'm the Clippers, like I don't want them to trade anything meaningful for James Harden, because that just means, because he's on a 1-year rental, right? Like that means you're gonna have to pay him something next year or let him go. And I don't think that dude has a first step anymore. I think he only scored 40-plus points in the playoffs because Boston didn't know what in the world they were doing defensively, and they fell apart at the point of attack. So, God, man, like, honestly, I would stay away, especially if you can get James Harden for Marcus Morris, Robert Covington, and picks or something like that, go ahead.
Yeah. You gotta do it. Yeah.
Terrence Mann, I think both of you saw during the playoffs how impactful he is on both ends. That dude is just an energy machine.
It's like the exact kind of player the Suns need.
Oh
to
my
be
god!
honest.
If they could get their hands on
Yeah.
him, man, to be the best defender on the team easily. I think.
Yep.
I think the Clippers giving away that for a guy that's 34, and you got to pay because Harden wants money for the long term security, and it would be a disaster. Personally, I think they should just ride this out. But my problems with the Clippers guys stems back to last February, whenever. I know you remember that game right before the All-Star break, like literally 12 hours before the All-Star break. They went into Phoenix and laid the smackdown on the Suns. Like, they looked good. Like, they were great in that game. Terrence Mann had like 30 or like 28 points, something crazy. And then what did they do the next week? They went and got Russell Westbrook. So they shook up their entire rotation.
Yeah.
After bringing Eric Gordon and looking great for a couple weeks there. And they have not been the same since. I think they got worse since that moment, and I think they should not compound their bad decisions by going to get Harden, because then you have Harden and Russ together again, and that has failed quite a few times.
No Russ fans are
fascinating.
listening to this, so because you might have a bounty on your head for saying that, Shane. But I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
As Devin Booker said, Shane, you know the game.
Oh wow!
So thank you, thank you for joining us.
So
Make sure
cool.
to follow Shane at Young NBA on Twitter, and I assume other platforms as well, and read everything on Forbes Sports. And Shane, is there anything else that you would like to tell the people about before we let you go here?
Man, I just gotta say, like I've been to Phoenix probably 4 times so far, and I love it. It's probably my favorite NBA spot to be at.
That's fun.
I just
You
love
and
how
Kevin Durant both. Nice.
Hey, I feel like Katie says that about everywhere he goes. But he's gonna be saying that about OKC when he retires there. But anyway, I think I think for me it's just an awesome time to be a follower of the Phoenix Suns basketball, because this is their window, and I think that if they don't capitalize the next 2 years, then I don't know. Obviously you make the trades that you made, you lean in every single time, but the fact that Booker has made Phoenix a destination is the most incredible part of this entire thing that no one's really talking about. I'm sure you guys are, but
Right.
Thanks for having me, guys, and be glad to come on anytime, whether it's during the regular season or playoffs, anything, for sure.
You're welcome.
All right.
anytime.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
For over a century, Johnny Walker has shared its bold spirit with the game of golf. Now, crafted with Devereaux Golf, Johnny Walker introduces the Johnny Walker Blue Label-inspired Sunday Golf Bag, elevating the game with sleek design, Blue Label hues, and refined gold accents. Celebrate your hole-in-one with a premium Sunday bag crafted by Devereaux Golf. Submit proof of your achievement to johnnywalker.com/blue-in-1. Please drink responsibly.